So these are going to be your 120 lits. And so you have words that come out: Floridian, Michigan, Floridian, Michigan, Alzheimer's, Mom, Japanese, Christopher, the Alzheimer's Association, www.alz.org. And this will be then 120 lit number 1 for 5 minutes. Chantel, you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. It's called Managing Mom, 120 lit number 1. Every spring, my Floridian in-laws return to Michigan to visit their 8 grown children, and my husband and I were first on the list. When they arrived in 1996, it didn't take long to notice my mother-in-law's memory was worsening. My mother-in-law, who I called Mom, was diagnosed with Alzheimer's at age 65 and prescribed a medication to help manage her symptoms. The meds seemed to help, but over time her memory lapses became more frequent and caused more concern. There were dinners burnt beyond recognition, repetitive stories, and the constant struggle to remember names. Then she came to stay with us one spring. It was difficult to find things for her to do around the house. I knew she loved working with plants and flowers, so pruning the dormant plants after our Michigan winter seemed a perfect fit. I paraded Mom around the yard like she was some kind of master gardener with full control of her mental senses. This can be cut back, but not this, and this, and this. What was I thinking? As I watched her work from the kitchen window, it was evident I needed a better plan. The Japanese maple trees, yes. The one that had taken more than 12 years to grow to a mere 4 feet was stripped to stubble. But I refused to let the disease have the upper hand. Once again, Mom and I walked the perimeter of the yard, this time with a can of spray paint. Okay, Mom, cut back any plant sprayed with red paint. If you don't see red, don't out. I can do that, she replied. And it worked. This was just the beginning of the many challenges Alzheimer's would bring to our family. There was the time Mom professionally cleaned my bathroom mirrors and glass shower doors with deodorizing spray. I watched as she worked intently to remove every self-induced streak. Occasionally, she would tear a sheet from the roll of paper towel tucked under her arm. It was a brief life as usual moment for Mom. She felt useful, and I didn't have the heart to stop her. When a family member has Alzheimer's, you learn to laugh when you want to cry. Laughter becomes the healing balm for the isolation and loneliness we feel caused by our inability to communicate with someone we love. That 1996 visit with my mom-in-law was a precious gift. I remember a long drive home from a family gathering with Mom seated next to my husband, Chris. The conversation went like this. Christopher, it is so nice to see you again. 10-minute pause. Christopher, it is so nice to see you again. 10-minute pause. Christopher, it is so nice to see you again. 5-minute pause. That marathon conversation lasted 2 hours. It's now a memory that makes us laugh every time we mention it. I was surprised that the more time I spent with mom, the more I longed to delve into the corrupted thought process of Alzheimer's disease. I spoke with home care nurses at the hospital where I worked. Many cared for those with Alzheimer's on a daily basis, and their shared insight of the stages of the disease process was helpful. The Alzheimer's Association website, www.alz.org, and message boards were another great source of information. For instance, I couldn't help but wonder what compelled someone to hide used paper placemats beneath the kitchen sink. When we would visit, mom proudly displayed the food stained placemats. Look, Christopher, I have been saving these for you. How many? And then you have on your 120 lit number 2, Cupids and Midas. Midas touch. And let me see. Any questions, Chantal?
No, not right now.
Okay. This is 120 number 2 for 5 minutes. So, did you get any work done today? My husband asked, home from a long, hard day of work and spying my not so clean clothes. Shaking my head, I suppressed a laugh. Not exactly. You wouldn't believe the day I had. In the 6 months since giving birth to twins, we'd stumbled our way through endless sleepless nights, feedings, and diaper changes. Asking about work had become our little joke. How naive I'd been to think I could keep working on my furniture refinishing in a tiny apartment overflowing with twins. Now that we'd finally managed to get into a routine that included sleeping at night, the days were more exhausting than ever. The boys were crawling. Help me move the books, I asked my husband one evening. Your sons managed to pull out those heavy textbooks. Before they could tear them to shreds, we reorganized, doubling rows of books on the upper shelves and bolting the case into the wall so it wouldn't topple over. Then it was the knickknacks on the coffee table. In a matter of days, our crawling babies had managed to find every unsafe object 2 feet from the ground. Surveying the place every morning, I was certain it was finally safe. And so, on this particular morning, the boys were sitting contentedly playing with blocks. How silly it seemed to disrupt them and stick them in their cribs, while I dashed into the bathroom. It couldn't have been more than a minute later when I charged out to find them sitting happily where I'd left them on the rug in the living room. They smiled at me, blue eyes and pink lips popping out against their golden skin. Golden? I did a double take. Oh no, boys, what have you done? What they'd done was find the one cabinet we had missed. It held a container of gold dust that I used for gold leafing furniture. At least they hadn't eaten it yet. I was panicked. This stuff was toxic. It was time for damage control. Quickly, I picked up one baby and put him in a crib. Then I put his brother in the same crib. Why mess up two? They giggled like two cupids come to life. By this time, the front of my shirt was ruined. Like Midas, everything I touched became marred with fine gold powder. I put the jar that had caused all this trouble in the top cabinet. The rug was hopelessly sparkling with ground-in gold dust. It was more important to get that stuff off my precious babies. One at a time, I declothed a baby and cleaned him in the sink. That stuff did not want to come off. And this was not the time for my sons to discover the joy of splashing. Finally, I put one clean baby in the clean crib. It was time for baby number 2. My sink and counter were ruined. Thank goodness I hadn't had triplets. Carefully holding him away from me so I wouldn't get more gold on him, I put him next to his brother. They smiled sleepily like pink angels. By the time I'd attempted to clean the rug and the bathroom again, bundled all the sheets from the crib and all of my clothes for washing, and bathed myself, the boys were up and ready for another round. I hallucinated gold dust everywhere while I carefully spoon-fed them. As my hair dried, I could see gold sparkling amongst the red. Close inspection of my face showed still more. Would this And so that's it, Chantel. You can actually use this for your lower speed, like for your theory practice, okay?
Okay, not a problem.
And so tomorrow, Chantel, we have, what is it, literature charge.
I think tomorrow's jury charge.
Okay, are you going to log in?
Yes.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is pay for this service, and that way it's always the same number and you can always have it, okay? I'm going to do that today.
Okay, so it's going to be the same number that you gave me
It'll
earlier.
always be the same number once it's paid for. So I'll send it to you, I'll email it, and then you'll always have it.
Okay, perfect.
Okay?
All
Have
right.
a good day, Chantel.
Okay, thank you. You too.
Chantel,
Yes.
and don't forget to look in Blackboard, the announcement, because you can win a wave. Make sure that you look.
I was actually looking at that, and I was going to ask you, so the recording that you had earlier, is that going to be available on this site, or is it going to be on Blackboard?
On this one, because the recording from earlier, this is a different class. This is a slower class.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, so yours was at 10 o'clock,
Mm-hmm.
and so this is a slower class. This is the last class
Okay.
for
so,
today.
Okay. Not
I have a
problem.
theory class, but the speed building, this was it.
Okay, perfect.
Okay?
All right.
I'll
thank
send you
very
an
much.
email. Okay, thank you,
It sounds good.
Chantel.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.